Hello, my name is Pamela Couther, and I'm an instructional specialist for secondary mathematics with Richmond Public Schools. Welcome to the Richmond Public Schools Distance Learning Modules. In this series, we will learn geometry, where we will have a different focus each week. The focus for this week is SOL G.8a, the Pythagorean theorem. Today we will review how to use the Pythagorean theorem to solve for a missing leg and a right triangle. Before we get started, you will need a few supplies: your interactive notebook or a few sheets of paper, a pencil or other writing utensil, and the Desmos calculator. Here are the answers to yesterday's practice problems. Please take some time to check your answers and make any corrections. You are now ready to watch the instructional video, which will explain our skill for today. Before we start, please open the notes. Copy the notes and fill in the blanks as you watch the video. The video is linked in the presentation. Once you are done watching the video and completing the notes, please come back to this presentation. Now that you've learned our skill for today, we will look at some model examples. Please copy and complete the examples in your notebook. Let's look at model example number 1. Please draw the illustration. Just like yesterday, we always want to start with the Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Then we must assess which sides do we have. Here we have 15, which is one of the legs, because it helps to form the right angle. We also have 17, which is across from the 90-degree angle, which means 17 is the hypotenuse. So 15 we can substitute in for either A or B. 17 has to be substituted in for C because C is the hypotenuse. So I've substituted in 15 for B. X squared plus 15 squared equals 17 squared. My next step is to square the numbers. 15 squared is 225. 17 squared is 289. Because I'm trying to solve for x, I must get x on one side by itself. So I need to subtract the 225. When I subtract that from both sides, I get x squared equals 64. My last step is to take the square root of both sides. My final answer is x equals 8 centimeters. Let's look at model example number 2. Model example number 2 is a word problem, so we must draw our own illustration. Ms. Green tells you that a right triangle has a hypotenuse of 13 and a leg of 5. She asks you to find the other leg of the triangle. Now, some people may be able to solve this without an illustration, but it's fine to draw one if you need one. So below I have a leg of 5 and 13 is my hypotenuse. So 5 can be either A or B, but 13 has to be C, the hypotenuse. After plugging in my numbers, I need to square them. 5 squared is 25, 13 squared is 169. Because I'm solving for x, I must get x on one side by itself. So I need to subtract 25 from both sides. Next, I get x squared equals 144. My last step is to find the square root of each side, so I get x equals 12. Here's a problem for you to try on your own. Remember that the legs can be either A or B, but the hypotenuse has to be C. Let's look at the solution. So I substituted in 12 for A. Again, you could have substituted it in for A or B, but 15 has to be C because it's the hypotenuse. I know that 15 is a hypotenuse because it is across from the 90-degree angle. Or I could say I know C is the hypotenuse because it is the slanted side. After plugging in my numbers, I need to square my numbers. 12 squared is 144. 15 squared is 225. To get x on one side by itself, I need to subtract 144 from both sides. Next, I get x squared equals 81. My last step is to take the square root of each side, and I get an answer of x equals 9. Here's another problem for you to try on your own, where you must draw your own illustration. Let's look at the solution. In my illustration, I drew a suitcase. The suitcase is 24 inches long and has a diagonal of 30 inches long. What is the width of the suitcase? So you can see my right triangle in my illustration. 24 is one of the legs, and 30 is the hypotenuse. So I substitute those in. I substitute in 24 for A. Remember, 24 could be either A or B. But 30 has to be C because it is the hypotenuse. My next step is to square those numbers. 24 squared is 576. 30 squared is 900. My next step is to subtract 576 from both sides. Remember, I'm trying to get x on one side by itself. My last step is to find the square root of both sides. My answer is x equals 18 inches. That concludes our lesson for today. During your remaining work time, please complete the practice problems, as well as the online practice. The answers will be in tomorrow's module. Enjoy the rest of your day and stay safe.